especially with our 4-year-old, she loves this new game. It's called like rhyming trivia. And I'll say something like, my first is something on top of my head. My second is something that flies in a cave. And my third is something you stand on. And then she'll think, and it'll be like, oh, hat.
Bad Matt?
Yeah.
Yes! Fuck you. Nailed it.
Nice job, baby. Okay, so let's record the intro now.
So what did Milkless? Because I think we start with the name.
Two dads, we love our kids. But then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey. Hey, Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey,
Milkless. Call the audience, Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take.
All right, Matt, another episode coming at you live via satellite. Here we go. So I got something for you. I'm just getting myself psyched up, you know.
I think you think that sounds cooler than it does.
Coming at you live via satellite.
Yeah, but you know, whatever gets you into the groove, baby.
Yeah, all right. I need it. I need it to. It's like my pre-batter's box routine.
It sounds better than coming to you pre-recorded using our computers.
Right. So basically, something I've been feeling lately is like, I feel like I want to be more connected with the kids, and you know, you do that thing. So the kids are coming home from school, and you know, I go into like turbo mode, like, oh, what am I going to do? What can I build with them? What can I do with them? Mm-hmm. What kind of crafts can I do? First of all, I fucking hate crafts. I hate drawing with kids. Literally just like shoot me. But that crossed in my head. I was like, oh, should I get markers? We can do drawing. And there's like that really good YouTube channel where the guy like draws things and you copy with him. I'm like, we could do that. Oh, no. What if we play board games? Oh, no. I want to hang out. It's just like so much doing, right?
Yeah.
And then by the time they got home, I was just like, man, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I was like,
aside from thinking about all the things you might do.
But then instead of like my natural inclination would be like, let's get some snacks and just move to the television together. I just kind of sat on, we have a couch or like a love seat chair thing that's not near a television. I just sat down and, you know, I had one or actually two of my kids just come sit on my lap like Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. I was just like, what's up, guys? And usually the way we get it kicked off is we play a little trivia. They're like, let's play Triv. So play some trivia. We've been adding in a new element called tickle trivia, which basically I hold one of their arms up and can tickle their armpit if they get it wrong. So they love it. And there's a time element. So sometimes they'll just be really easy. Like, name 7 colors, quick. And if they stop for a minute, they're like, orange, and then they just get slammed.
Have you ever seen that? Is it Billy on the Street? Have you ever watched those?
Yeah.
He just goes around, he's like, name a woman. And people are like, ha! It's really good.
For $1, name a woman. Yeah. So it was kind of like that. But then we just kind of sat and chatted. And I'm like, because I don't know, at the dinner table, for some reason, it's very hard to get conversation going. I mean, we do this thing where we say, what's the best part of your day? What's the worst part of your day? And what's your rainbow? Mm-hmm. So from our Dutch friends, Lisbeth and Frank, and they basically, it was like, rainbow means what you're looking forward to.
Yeah. Sometimes I've heard like rose, thorn, seed or something. There's like a bunch of different names for this practice. But
that's all right. But then it's kind of scripted.
It's a little forced. Yeah.
But anyway, like I just really tried to focus on just after the tickle trivia went by, just like they like being on top of me. Mm-hmm. And then we're just sitting there on this couch. I'm like, yeah, so what else? Who'd you play with today? What'd you do? And somehow it just started going. It was almost like, remember we talk about sometimes at bedtime, I can get the kids talking and we'll have these great conversations. And then I'm like, why don't you do this with me during the day?
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was that.
Yeah.
And then we just spent like over an hour just sitting there chatting. And you know what? Like I did it with different kids, different days. Those kids, like their dad cup was full. Like they weren't shitheads later at like whiny or any, I mean, you know what I mean? It was like, filled that cup up so big that there was like sharing was easier later with their siblings. There wasn't as much grabbing, wasn't as much this. Now, again, you need to have like a weird amount of time to be able to do that. But I think something I'm going to try to work on is like not always like needing to do something, especially like productive people or people who work in the business world or used to work in the business world. Maybe there's a stay-at-home dad, stay-at-home mom who used to be, turbo, high-powered. It's like, well, let's take that to parenting. What are we doing next? All right, reading time. Okay, this. Okay, that. Okay, now we're spent. Television. As opposed to like just sitting on each other's laps for like an hour and just doing nothing.
Removing goals from the interaction. Yeah. I think that's cool, man. And especially once school starts, that's so hard to find because you almost always feel like we've got X minutes till this. We've got X minutes till this. And there is like I was talking to this person once and I think they like curated museums and they argued that one of the main challenges of getting people to go to museums is that there's not a prescribed path through them. Mm-hmm. They're like, it makes people uncomfortable to just walk into a space and then just move around it as they please and take as much time looking at whatever.
What if I miss one?
Yeah, what if I missed one? And like, what am I doing? And I think, you alluded to like if somebody's been really high powered in the working world or whatever, I don't even think that necessarily has to be the case. We live in, our culture is so much about the fucking hustle, right? Mm-hmm. I heard this woman speak recently. She used the phrase internalized capitalism, which I had never heard before. And she said it to me and I like almost got choked up because then she went on to talk about how it makes it so difficult for us to slow down and just be, just be with the people that we want to be with without having a goal of something we're trying to do together, which is exactly what you're describing. And when you can do that, man, it feels so fucking good. It feels amazing.
Yeah. And also like all the stars kind of need to align because sometimes the kids are like have, ants in their pants and they're just like, let's play outside. Let's go play, Dad. And it's like, that's hard. But sometimes if you can create the dad trap on the couch and they come get on top of you and there's no phone, there's no television. Sometimes it is the game. Like they love playing the tickle trivia now.
Yeah.
And it gets it going. And then we're kind of just in this cozy situation, like hugging or they're sitting on my lap, we're chatting, they're laughing. And then it's like, yeah, let's talk about what's your favorite thing to do, and then we just kind of just jam.
It does require, and you mentioned not having a cell phone or having anything else. I think from you, it requires you being incredibly present because like that lack of a plan or a thing to do, that's okay. As long as you can just be right there in the moment and like what you're doing together, whether it's a conversation or you're kind of roughhousing or you're like, that can kind of evolve very fluidly together if you're totally present. Because your kid probably is mostly present. Like that's, for better or worse, that's where kids spend a lot of their time is in right now. But yeah, I think when you can do that with them, suddenly like that lack of a goal is not a source of like stress of what are we doing here. It's like kind of an opening to just be.
Yeah.
Which sounds super woo-woo, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But also I think you need to somehow get the kid to slow down for a second.
Yeah, that's true.
Coming back from school, like our oldest kid bought a foosball table for like $88. It's a piece of shit off of Amazon. But he's like, wait a minute, what can I buy with $100? And I went with him and we went on Amazon and we looked for a while and he's like, wait a minute, I can get an entire foosball table? What?
It's a piece of furniture. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's a piece of trash. But so they like playing that after school. They're like, Dad, play. Let's go play soccer, which I like playing with them there too. But then it's very doing something,
Well, it's not just doing something. It's like, it's exciting. The energy is up. It's competition. There's winners and losers. Right. And then I think on top of all those things, it's exciting, but it's not truly physically exerting.
Right.
So you're building up all this energy that you kind of don't get to blow off that steam by actually like running around a soccer field.
Right.
I think you're right. Like the kids have to be calm enough. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge I find with my oldest, because we've had moments like this, a lot of them outside, where our family is just out there and whatever is happening and it's fun and we're doing it together. And that's the whole point. And my 6-year-old, I have remembered times where she's just looked at me with this big smile on her face and she says like, this feels good. I'm so happy right now. Mm-hmm. Like she'll even articulate it. Like this just feels good. But it is easy for that to slip away if she gets too up. Yeah. Then it's like suddenly the kids are screaming and you're like, oh my God, like stop yelling poop, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
I agree. It's kind of like this magic thing.
The way I do it actually to get them into the zone is I trick them and I trap them with trivia. Tickle trivia gets them excited. Trivia calms them down. But then I forgot, especially with our 4-year-old, she loves this new game. It's called like rhyming trivia. And I'll say something like, okay, my first is something on top of my head. My second is something, that flies in a cave. And my third is something you stand on. And then she'll think, and it'll be like, oh,
hat, bad, Matt.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Fuck you. Nailed it.
Nice job, baby. So that's fun. And then that calms the energy down. And then they're getting comfortable, like sitting with me or laying with me. And we're just like playing. We're using our brains. We're just jamming. And then it's like, this is where it comes in for me, where I'm usually the one who then wants to leave because I get a little bored after 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But then the child is typically totally down to just be with you.
Yeah.
Because you're so cozy and warm. And if you're me, you have the heat of 1,000 suns. And they're like, oh man, Dad's so cool to lay on.
Yeah.
That's when you can transition into the nothingness of just like being together.
Just being.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the term that like the buzzy term that the scientists would use is like regulation. Like your kid is then in a regulated state where they're able to be in their whole brain. They're able to feel calm, but also enjoy themselves. And of course, like the best thing you can do to help your kids be there is to be there yourself. And we who like to accomplish things and like, you and I had talked about like how we're always fucking hurrying and we walk fast, we do fast. And even if that's not necessarily anxiety, even if we're feeling that in a good way, that's still not like a totally like calm, regulated state. Mm-hmm. And if you got your phone, you're just not there. Like, or if there's a screen on, you're just kind of not there. So it's like presence and calm from you. And again, it's not like this is like a magic bullet and like suddenly it'll just happen all the time. I do think that stars kind of have to align a little bit, but you got to be there as much as they do.
This episode is brought to you by Violet Archer in the Case of the Purple Martin. It's a chapter book with illustrations on every page. You can read it to them if they're 5, 6-year-olds, but then as soon as they can read up till 12, 13, it's an insanely good book with plot twists like worthy of an adult's attention. I love this thing. I'm so proud of Matt and Milkless of putting this thing out. So if you want to support Milkless and get an awesome book for your kids, it'd mean a whole lot to us if you bought it. Check the podcast description for the link to Amazon and buy it today. And if you already have it, you can pop back into Amazon and give us an honest review. Thanks. The thing that I've started to try to do is just reframe that, like, and this is kind of sick because I'm putting it in the same context of things that is the
yeah.
I'm like, this is doing something great.
Uh-huh.
It's not the lack of something. Like, it's not a vacuum. It's not empty space. No. This is actually, if I can be calm and chill next to my daughter or sons and like we can just spend an hour together, just being together, talking about whatever, that is actually doing a fuck ton.
Yeah.
It feels so good. And then I'm telling you, the connection, I don't have like data to support this, but the amount of times that then that child would be like, I love you so much, Dad. You're the best dad in the whole world. Whereas I used to get that once a week.
Yeah.
Once every 2 weeks. Like they only reply to me. I love you so much, son or daughter. Yeah. I love you too, Dad. You're the best dad. No. This is unsolicited.
Yeah.
When this shit happens, that's when I get the, oh, Dad, I love you so much out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
out of nowhere. Yeah.
It's like,
Dude, it is. I had this experience with my 2-year-old. So I tell my 2-year-old I love her like, probably 40 to 50 times a day.
Yeah.
She looks like fucking Jack with curly hair right now. Yeah. She's so cute. Like every time I look at her, I just want to and she almost never reciprocates. She's not being ice cold. She just doesn't really.
Yeah.
But the other day, we were just making eggs. So we were doing something, but it was just her and me. It was the weekend and there was no rush to be anywhere. And she got to crack the egg. Like we just took a million years. And then we stood at the counter just eating them beside each other at the kitchen counter. And it was slow and we were just being. Like it was the kind of moment you're describing. And my 2-year-old, she turns and puts her hand on my face and just like pets my face and then just says, I love you, unprompted. Mm-hmm. And it's like, even at fucking 2, they know that something is happening there that is special. Mm-hmm. And they know that the words that are connected to that are about love.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, that like to think of it as like, oh, this is doing something, is kind of putting it back in that need to be productive. But I wonder if there's a different way to frame it, which is like just being in a calm, joyful space with your kids is all you need to be doing. I feel like there was like this swing because, you know, we have to interact with parenting social media some, mm-hmm. like it or not, just because like it's how people find the podcast. And for a long time, I feel like all I've been seeing is like, you need to do this. You need to do this. If you're doing this, you're going to fuck them up. If you're doing this, you're going to fuck them up. And in the last couple of months, I've seen the swing towards people starting to say like, hey man, like, let's take a deep breath here.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the cost of all of that angst and worry about that shit is those moments where you're like, I don't need to worry about anything. We're together.
Yeah.
Like this is all that needs to be happening.
Yeah. I mean, I just think we need to keep talking about it because my natural inclination is to think about skills. Mm-hmm. I think our episode 4 or 5 or one of those early ones was about
what a tiger parent you are.
Yeah. But just thinking like,
not really, not on the grand.
No, but like, oh, well, what can we do that's fun and makes them a better human being so that they can be happier in their life and smarter? And, oh, let's play chess. That's great. Oh, let's go outside and play sports. Oh, let's do this. It's like, and I'm not an overscheduler. I'm like way anti-overscheduling. The kids aren't doing like 700 activities, but my brain still does that because I don't know. That's kind of like how I am. I don't really like just sitting around. I don't know. I always feel like that's lazy or something. I'd rather be, even watching TV is more active, you know, like, I don't know. That's why I don't take time for myself to do meditation or mm-hmm. yoga. Mm-hmm. And like, these things are so good. I think also just being in the presence of someone you love deeply is so good. And I don't know why. Yeah. That's not like, why isn't that said more?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't that a thing?
Because where's the money in it? You know what I mean? Like, it's just not like, it is not how our culture is set up. And I do a lot of the things that I do that make me feel calm still have an activity in them. Like I'll go out and work in my yard, which is productive and it's doing something, but I still feel calm. But I also think that maybe that's a way in which we're a little different than kids. Like kids, like you hear how important free play is, how important unsupervised play is. And if you think about like skills building, but if you kind of take a step back from like specific skills to just think about soft skills, the ability to like look at a period of time when there's nothing to do and then create something to do or just only care about the connection to the people around you in that moment. Like there's not a lot of soft skills that are more important than that. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's something you never get to do if there's always an activity. You never have to generate that activity for yourself or just sit comfortably in the lack of an activity and just kind of revel in what you said. Nobody talks about. It's just like, just being with the people you love. It's fucking best.
And also I just find that like sometimes it's hard to have a connection with your children just because they're not adults. They're not as like objectively, you know, what's the opposite of ignorant? Learned.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. They don't know things about the world mm-hmm. that we do. So it's like, there is this weird dynamic where we're this big, smart being and they are mm-hmm. not. Mm-hmm. They're cute. You know, there's things like there's some adoration. There's, you know, the tutelage aspect. There's all these kind of weird aspects. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to like peel back all the layers to then actually then sit normally together. Because mm-hmm. if you think about it, like a lot of our interactions, especially when you have 2 or 3 kids, they're somewhat transactional. It's like, okay, who's ready for dinner?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's just like, right, wash your hands. Okay, dinner time. Okay, everybody sit. Doing. Sit. Okay, tell me about your day. What's your best part? Bing, 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 bing. Okay, cool. Great. Oh, it's like, eat your food. Oh, you just spilled the water. I got to clean up the water. Like, there's not a lot of time but I don't know, finding it. Maybe it's on a Saturday. You almost need to, what I found is like, you have to like break it down because it takes longer than the time. Let's say you only have 10 minutes where you actually end up doing this thing where you are like truly present with each other.
It takes 20 minutes to get there.
Yeah, 20, 30 minutes setup to kind of get everybody into the zone of like, hey, look, dad's not like fucking sheepdogging you right now. And like,
yeah, we're just hanging out.
We're just hanging out. There is nothing to do. So, it's easier said than done. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's right. And it's not like it's all our fault that it doesn't happen more often. But I do think that there's like a couple of things that help. And one of them you talked about, just like getting down low where they can climb on you. Like physical contact, I think, is like a bit of a shortcut to that space. Mm-hmm. For us, being outside is too. We've got this like little area in our backyard that just like has some toys and just like those little pebble rocks. Mm-hmm. And if we go out there and we're all just out there with nowhere to be, that usually turns into something good. So yeah, it's hard to get there. I think there's a couple of ways to kind of shortcut it, and then being calm and present yourself. Yeah.
You just made me think of another time I did this like a month ago. We came home late after kind of a dinner party at a friend's house. So I'd had a couple wines, glasses, not bottles, but that's debatable. And we got home late and the stars were out. And so, kids don't typically see the stars in the summer because the summer is just late. At least definitely here. It doesn't get dark till like 8:30, 9.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's lay down and just like look at these. Mm-hmm. And so me and the two boys, my wife took our 4-year-old to bed, and we just laid out there for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And just talked about what we saw. And it was like a bedtime talking situation. Uh-huh. But man, like to your point, like laying outside in the grass, or like we set up a hammock last year. And just like you're in the hammock. So that's fun. Mm-hmm, so it starts with that active part of the brain. Like, let's play fucking foosball, Dad. Let's do this. It's like, let's get in that fucking hammock together, Dad. Mm-hmm. But then it slowly like hypnotizes you. And then you're all regulated. You're all chill. And it can just be, isn't this great, guys?
Well, there's interesting stuff happening there too, where it's like things that have back and forth motion like that promote right-left brain communication, which actually does put you in a more full brain integrated state. It's why like taking walks is nice. My wife does work with horses, and they'll do rhythmic riding stuff because even the motion of a horse will help people essentially like inhabit their whole brain more and have their whole brain talking to itself more, which kind of, again, puts you in that state where kids can do that. And it's not like through the roof wild or what's the next thing or whatever.
Love it. Listen, we don't have fact checkers on this show. And I do believe you 80%, but I just want to call it the dynamic that it sounds a little red light therapy vagina crystal.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I like it though. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, that's like what EMDR, like the like some of the trauma therapies that they do, that's like what it's based in. It's like right, left brain activation. And it's weird because it does sound super bullshit.
But it is very rooted in science.
It's super rooted in science. Yeah. Yeah. It holds up pretty good. Okay. Better than charging your crystals in the moonlight, which not knocking anybody who does that. Cause we don't know everything.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, dude, I'm glad you're having some of those moments. I think you've encouraged me to really, think about how to carve out that time. It's hard once school comes back. There's a lot of like, what's next? But it's so great when you can get there. And the kids know it. They just know it. You're like that unsolicited, I love you. Like they get it. Whatever that thing is that's happening, they feel it just as much as you do.
Yeah. And again, it's like in every parent's defense who's listening is like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Yeah, I know.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, I know.
No, seriously. No, but like like this could literally just be impossible. One, where the kids are developmentally. Like I tried to do this with our 9-year-old. He was like, dude, I'm reading this comic book, man, or graphic novel. He's just obsessed with it. Couldn't get him to peel away. I'm like, do you want to read it like on top of my body? It's like, no. I'm just like, just let me, But then 2 weeks ago, I could get him into the state, chilling.
Yeah.
So it's not like.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes we're working and you see your kids like ships passing in the night all week. But with that said, I think it's still important to know that those moments are cool if and when you can find them.
Yeah. And they are fragile. I mean, they're hard to find sometimes even with your spouse, right? Like those moments where you're just both in the right place to just be. But they are awesome. And getting away from the instinct that I have 2 friends that live in Houston. He's a really old friend and he and his wife been together for a long time. She's a friend too. And they're some of my only friends where if I'm in town, I just call them and they're like, come over. Mm-hmm. And then I just do. And that's the whole plan. And those are some of my favorite friends to hang out with. Because it's not like, where are we going to eat? Like, what do you want to? It's just like, come over. And then we just fucking sit around. And it's the best. It's the best.
Sweet.
All right, man. Y'all are like that whenever I'm in Park City. I should come hang. Feels good.
Even with the kids, it's like, let's just go to this little stream.
Yeah, we just went to that stream and we're just
sticks.
There.
Yeah.
Build dams, shot water guns. No plan. No plan is a good plan. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Wait.
Brought to you by Violet Archer in the case of the Purple Martin.